Overtime? You should be grateful I even let you keep this job. That's what my boss told me, smirking, when I begged him to restore my overtime hours. His words didn't just sting, they hollowed me out. Not only was I struggling to pay rent and keep food on the table, but the man I'd worked for, stayed late for and sacrificed weekends for, mocked my desperation like it was a comedy routine performed for his own amusement. He leaned back in his leather chair like a king passing judgment, hands folded, eyes gleaming with that self-satisfied look I'll never forget. To him, I wasn't a mother, a provider, or even an employee worth respecting. I was disposable, replaceable, nothing. But what Mr. Calhoun didn't realize was that his arrogance would eventually circle back to destroy him. His downfall wouldn't come from an outsider, or from some sudden accident. It would come from his own words, read aloud in court for everyone to hear. Before I tell you how I went from humiliated to victorious, subscribe to Lawful Payback and comment below where you're watching from. My name is Angela Morales. I'm 42 years old, a mother of two, and I live in Cleveland, Ohio. For nearly a decade, I worked as an administrative coordinator at a mid-sized manufacturing company. My mornings started in the dark. Alarm at 5:30, quick shower, breakfast rushed. I'd pack lunches for my kids. My daughter loved peanut butter and jelly. My son needed his inhaler tucked in his backpack, and then I'd hustle to the 6:30 bus. By the time I got to my desk, the office was still quiet, lights flickering on, coffee machines humming. I wasn't ambitious in the way some people chase promotions. I wasn't looking for titles or corner offices. I just wanted security. And for me, overtime was that security. Those extra hours weren't luxuries, they were lifelines. With them, I could cover rent, chip away at my debt, and buy my son's asthma medicine. Without them, everything collapsed. And collapse it did. I was the kind of worker managers dream of. I stayed late, volunteered to cover shifts, even answered emails in the dead of night. I gave up weekends, birthdays, holidays, all for the belief that loyalty meant safety. But loyalty meant nothing to my boss, Mr. Calhoun. He wore expensive suits, drove a shiny black BMW, and strutted through the office like he owned the world. To him, loyalty wasn't a value, it was a weakness he could exploit. So when the company announced cost-cutting measures, it wasn't his perks or bonuses that got trimmed. No, it was our overtime. The one thing we relied on. I thought it was unfair. I didn't yet realize it was illegal. That decision would spark a battle he never saw coming. At first, it was subtle. A missing hour here, a rounded-down shift there. I told myself payroll must have slipped. Maybe a clerical error. But then it happened again, and again. My 50-hour week somehow shrank to 40. When I confronted HR, they gave me polished smiles and hollow reassurances. System glitches happen, Angela. Don't worry, but I did worry. Those glitches meant no groceries in the fridge, bills stacking up, and medicine bottles with fewer refills. And all the while, my boss reveled in his control. One afternoon, I knocked on his door. My voice trembled as I asked whether overtime was gone forever. He leaned back in his chair, laced his fingers, and smirked. Overtime is a privilege, not a right. Don't forget who runs this office. I left his office with my cheeks burning, my chest tight. At home, reality hit me harder. A bright orange rent notice sat on the kitchen counter. My daughter's permission slip for a field trip lay unsigned because I couldn't afford the $25 fee. I maxed out one credit card, then another. Every late-night report I typed, every spreadsheet I perfected, went under his name while I quietly skipped dinners so my kids could eat. The whispers at work grew louder. HR dismissed me. My boss labeled me forgetful and emotional. Soon, colleagues avoided me. My reputation soured. It felt like drowning, sinking deeper each week while he stood safely on the shore, watching. One night, sitting at my kitchen table under the glow of a single lamp, I stared at a shut-off notice from the electric company. My kids were asleep in their room, unaware of how close we were to losing everything. Tears blurred the numbers on the page. I thought about quitting. Maybe he was right. I was powerless. But then, one Friday evening, everything changed. The office was nearly empty. I lingered behind, cleaning the break room, partly to avoid the silence of unpaid bills waiting at home. That's when I noticed it. A thick binder wedged behind the cabinet near the recycling bin. Dusty, heavy, forgotten. Curiosity, or maybe desperation, made me pull it out. Inside were time card printouts. My name, my signature, my hours. Except they weren't my hours. Dozens of entries had been altered. A 47-hour week magically became 40. A 55-hour week shrank to 38. Nights I remembered vividly, staying late to finish quarterly reports, were gone as if they'd never happened. I felt sick. My hands trembled as I turned the pages, and then, tucked in the back, I saw a stapled email chain. It was from Mr. Calhoun, in black and white. Make sure Angela's hours don't exceed 40. She's too desperate to fight back anyway. My breath hitched. My chest tightened. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't some glitch. This was theft, deliberate, documented. For the first time in months, I didn't cry myself to sleep. That binder slid into my bag like a secret weapon. My boss thought I was too desperate to fight back. He was wrong. Monday morning, I walked into an employment lawyer's office. My hands trembled as I placed the binder on her desk. She flipped through it carefully, her expression shifting from curiosity to fury. Finally, she looked up. "Angela," she said firmly, "this isn't just unpaid wages. This is fraud, and it's illegal." For the first time in months, I felt hope. We filed a lawsuit. And that's when the storm began. The company retaliated immediately. I received threatening letters. Their lawyers claimed I fabricated the documents. HR insisted the binder didn't exist in their records. My boss spread rumors that I was unstable, vindictive, even dangerous. Walking into court felt like stepping into a battlefield where I was outnumbered. The defense attorneys were sleek, polished, confident. The judge looked skeptical as they spoke about budget adjustments and clerical misunderstandings. Then my boss took the stand. He didn't testify, he performed. His tone dripped arrogance. He painted me as inefficient and forgetful, someone who misremembered her hours. Watching him mock me in front of strangers felt like reliving every humiliation all over again. For a moment, I believed him. I thought maybe the judge did too. Maybe I'd lose everything. And then, my lawyer placed the binder on the evidence table. Page by page, she laid it out. Time cards side by side. The original hours. The altered numbers. The deliberate theft. The judge leaned forward, flipping through the pages with growing intensity. And then came the final nail. The email. The one where Mr. Calhoun wrote, "She's too desperate to fight back anyway." The courtroom froze. A silence so thick you could hear the scratch of a pen. The judge chuckled, shaking his head in disbelief. My boss's mask cracked. His smirk faltered. And then, from the gallery, a woman stood up. A former payroll clerk. She testified she had been directly instructed by Mr. Calhoun to alter my hours. She had quit because she couldn't stomach the lies. The defense scrambled, but the truth was undeniable. Arrogance had made my boss untouchable for years. Now it made him ridiculous. "Mr. Calhoun," the judge said, voice sharp, "your own words have made this case very clear." The gavel struck. The judgment was mine. Every stolen dollar returned. Damages awarded for emotional distress. It was more money than I'd ever seen in one place. But the true victory wasn't financial. It was dignity. Walking out of that courtroom, my head was high. My children's future suddenly looked brighter. And the man who mocked my struggles, who dismissed me as too desperate, stood humiliated, his smirk erased forever. One email. One lie. That's all it took to destroy him. Now I tell this story not just for me, but for every worker who's ever been dismissed, gaslit, or stolen from, because no matter how powerful someone seems, the truth has a way of breaking through, and when it does, it changes everything. So if you believe in justice, subscribe to Lawful Payback. The next story will leave you stunned.